Welcome back to Team Out of the Tank. This is Doug here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 4 decks that are rising in popularity, some of them already crushing in wins, and how the format is shaping with the new Ikoria Lair Behemoths. The other 4 decks that were really great, like Jeskai Fires, Zorius, Rakdos Sacrifice, and Mono Red, are still rampant. But with these new decks, we have now 8 overall decks that people want to play, people are playing, and people are consistently winning with. First, we're going to start off with my personal favorite. It's going to be Jeskai Control. The main key card isn't just Inspired Ultimatum. That is just a card that's kind of revolved around it. But you also have cards like Yadaro, Wandering Monster, who is a 7-drop. But you mainly use it for the cycle. And with Jeskai Control having a lot of draw power in this deck, you can cycle him out a lot of times, keep drawing him. Oh, they get rid of him. I'll just cycle him back and he'll keep coming back. Voracious Great Shark, he is a 5-drop flash whenever he counters creature artifact entering the field. You also have Shark Typhoon, which by itself as an enchantment is already great because for every non-creature card you cast, you get a shark flying creature token with XX of cards converted mana cost. So if you go Shark Typhoon, I'm gonna then go Voracious, not Voracious, Inspired Ultimatum. I get a 7/7 shark. I go negate, I get a 2/2 shark, which is a chump blocker. On top of that, it also has a cycling ability. So if you have one in hand that you don't need, just pitch it, draw cards to get you more resources that are better for that turn. They do have a lot of what do you call it? Cards that handle the board like Shadow the Sky, Ionize for the counters. But Aether Gust is there because a lot of Simic, Bant, and Solitaire decks are running rampant. So you gotta have that to take care of it. So once the old set rotates, this deck will really start getting up the ladder. Right now it's probably sitting around 5th or 6th place. But once again, it is a really great control deck. It is really consistent, and with a lot of cards like this, with Yadaro being an 8/8 for 2 ability to cast, Voracious Shark coming in as a 5/4 blocker and a good counter, and Shark Typhoon literally giving you creatures for casting your spells. It is a great deck that will see a lot more playthrough once again once the old set rotates. So this next deck is a Mardu Sacrifice deck. We've played the Orzhov Sack, but this is the, I guess you can say, pimped out version. It is Lurrus of the Dream Den, what do you call it? Companion. I keep forgetting the word for it. It's on the screen right there, but it's a companion. And you got 2 Call of the Death Dwellers, Cauldron Familiar. Claim the firstborn because you take the 3 or less creature, sack it with Priest of Forgotten Gods or Witch's Oven, and you just get the benefits of it. 3 Dreadhorde Butcher, Croxa, Priest of Forgotten Gods, Rix Madi Reveler, Serrated Scorpion, Whisper Squad, and Witch's Oven. Now, the thing about it is that you can go Croxa on turn 2, make your opponent discard. You can go Lurrus turn 3. Turn 4 you can go Croxa. Since he is a 2 or less creature, he sacrifices himself. Go Croxa again, and you literally just made your opponent discard 3 cards in a span of 3 turns by literally losing nothing but Croxa. And the way that he's worded as well, you can have Priest of Forgotten Gods on the board with Dreadhorde Butcher, swing with Dreadhorde, play Croxa before it makes himself sacrifice. Priest of Forgotten God, you can trigger her effect. Sack the Dreadhorde Butcher and the Croxa, so that way you're making them discard, sack, and you're also dealing damage, small minimal damage, but that's how this deck wins, by dealing small amounts of damage that in the end equal to 20 or more value. You do have Active Treason for if you need that finishing kill, 2 Duress for the controls, 3 Embereth Shieldbreaker for, Clovers, 1 Epic Downfall, 1 Noxious Grasp, 1 Farika's Libation, and 4 Rob the Rich. Farika's Libation is for those enchantments that you just can't get rid of. Robber the Rich is for the control decks that you just put in, swing in with 2, and guess what? You're taking their resources away from them and using them against them. But once again, with Lurrus as your companion, you can just keep bringing back your small creatures without having to worry about anything. So up next we got a Jeskai, not a control. It can also be ran as a Boros deck, but you got Winota, Joiner of the Forces. So you run 4 Agent of Treachery because he's a human, 4 Bone Crusher Giant, 2 Brazen Borrowers, 3 Chandra Acolyte of Flame, 4 Charming Princes, 4 Elite Guard Mage, 3 Fibletip the Lost, 2 Fire Prophecy, 2 Luca, Coppercoat Outcast, 2 Thaza, and 4 Winota. So Winota is whenever a non-human creature attacks, you control attacks. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human card onto the battlefield from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in any random order. So Whenever a non-human, so for example, raise the alarm creates your little 1/1 soldier tokens, which technically are humans, but since the creature isn't specified, it triggers it. You can go Legion War Boss, which even if he doesn't attack, he creates a 1/1 goblin that can attack that turn, which triggers off with Noda. And you bring cards like Agent of Treachery, Charming Prince, which is a human wizard. Um, Charming Prince, Elite Garmage, which is a human wizard. You can also bring out cards. Well, I think those are your main target cards, your only target cards that are human. You can also bring out another Winota, but since she's legendary, she'll just sack herself. But pretty much you just want to keep spamming that like combo. Since they gain indestructible, you just either deal the small minimal damage of two. Since all your humans are twos, they also have indestructible, so your opponent can just chump block it, but you won't lose anything. So the point of this deck is just to spam the field with Winota, get a lot of cards like Agent of Treachery to take their cards, Charming Prince to exile Agent of Treachery, bring it back, and because it comes back into the battlefield effect, you get the effect twice. You Elite Guardian to gain a draw card, gain life, draw card, and with Fibble he's a non-human, which even if he doesn't attack for 2 mana, he comes in, he draws a card, which once again, Renota is like your main key card. She isn't a companion, so you can't have her to your sideboard. But speaking of sideboard, you have 2 Aether Gust, 3 Ashiok's Erasure. Now, the thing about Ashiok's Erasure is that it is a flash, kind of a counter card. It's not a counter per se, as if your opponent, let's just say, casts something that can't be countered, for example, Dovin's Veto, or what do you call it? What card? Shifting Ceratops. If your opponent goes Shifting Ceratops, you can go Ashiok's Erasure. You prevent him from casting that card. So the card does in a way get negated. You put it under Ashiok's Erasure. Yes, he will get it back once Ashiok's gets removed from the field. But in a way, you've countered their card for that turn. You got 2 Cub Warden, 4 Mystical Disputes, and 4 Scorching Dragonfire. Now, this deck I kind of like and I don't like for how stupid it can be, but it is the Garuda Simic or Bant deck. There are a lot of decks that are running it as Bant, but the one that I've seen really, really be oppressive and like game winning most of the time is the Simic deck, and that is for the Garuda. Even if you don't run him as your companion, you can run him in your deck, which as you can see, this deck does because he triggers himself into the deck. It's kind of weird. But your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana cost, which he is a 6 of, Thassa's a 4, Kogla's a 8, he's a 6, and Razor's an 8. When Garuda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. Now, the way Leyline of the Void is worded is whenever a card enters your opponent's graveyard, it is exiled. But the way that Garuda is worded is each player. So since I am a player, I am not putting it into my graveyard. I'm just sending it from my deck to the graveyard. It's really confusing. So Leyline of the Void does not counter this deck. There are cards like, for example, Hushbringer that prevents enter the battlefield effects, which will really stop this deck. You got Grafdigger's Cage, which lets nothing come into play. And then you also have the Koronos, the 3-headed dog. But speaking about none of those, we're talking about the Simic deck. You run cards like Dream Eater, which is a 6 drop flash. When it enters the battlefield, you surveil 4, and then you return a card your opponent controls to the hand. End-Raise Borners for your creatures, give them +2 I think Vigilance and Trample, and Haste. Essence Scatter for those pesky creatures, Growth Spiral for the ramp, 3 Garuda and the 1 in sideboard because you mill, you bring back a creature. 1 Kogla because when he enters the battlefield, it fights target creature. So if there's a wall that you want to get rid of, or a creature that's, for example, dealing a lot of damage to you, you can get rid of it. When it attacks, on the other hand, he destroys target artifact or enchantment. So you can play Kogla, get rid of their enchantment, get rid of the creature, attack, get rid of their enchantment, and pretty much you just gain the advantage by literally doing what the game does. Entering the battlefield and attacking. So you don't pay mana for those. What you can do is pay 2 mana, return a human, but they don't really run humans. They do run 3 Migration Path, which is the ramps, and once they are ramped, they can cycle it to draw, so more benefits. For Paradise Druids, for the mana, for Spark Doubles, for whatever double creature you need, if you need a second Thassa, a second Kogla, a second Garuda, or an End-Race Forerunners, if you have the mana, you're balling. You got 4 Thassa for the re-entering the battlefield effect, and 4 Wolf Willow Haven, which is just for the ramp. I've never seen them really sack it for the creature, but you have that option. You got once again 2 Aether Gusts for, I guess, the mirror match. They also have what do you call it, mono red and Simic ramp, Simic flash. 3 Destiny Spinners so your creatures don't get negated. 2 Disdainful Strokes. 3 Shifting Ceratops for the control decks. 2 Wicked Wolf for the mono red decks. 2 Wilts and 1 Garuda because he's your companion. Now I know this is a top 4 deck list, but this is my sleeper pick. One that people should watch out for. Not that it's tier 1. It could be depending on how the format shapes. But for right now, it is something in the back of the driver's seat. And it is a Dimir Flash or Simic Flash if some are running it with the blue variant. But if you are doing Simic Flash, you're not running Slitherwisp. That's why I added the Slitherwisp because it is Dimir. But he is a 3-drop, 2 swamp, 1 island. Creature Elemental Nightmare. Nightmare, he has Flash. Whenever you cast another spell that has Flash, you draw a card, and each opponent loses 1 life. So that goes great with Brineborn Cutthroat. We got new cards like Sea Dash Octopus and Dirgebat, which has a flash and is pretty much your new Chupacabra. Comes in, kill creature. So you run 1 Aether Gust for the Garuda decks, 3 Brazen Borrowers because you return a card and it's a flash, 4 Brineborn because he gets bigger, 1 Dirgebat because he's your Chupacabra, 3 Heartless Act for the Nissa decks who like to put the counters on the lands. You just kill that land or you kill a creature that's about to get bigger. Mystical Dispute for Neutralize, 2 Omen of the Sea because it's a flash, draw a card, 4 Quench, 3 Sea Dash Octopus because he's a flash, draws a card, 4 Slitherwisp because he's a flash, and he's not a legendary, so you can have up to 4, and your cards like, for example, Voracious Great Shark is now a 2-drop. You also have Spectral Sailor, which is a 1-drop, draws a card, and Voracious Great Shark, which is a 5/4, 5-drop artifact creature counter. So that's pretty good. For your sideboard, you got Aether Gust, 3 Cunning Nightbonder. She prevents your creatures from being countered. 3 Mystical Disputes, 2 Noxious Grasp, and 4 Thought Erasure for the control decks. So once again, the reason it is in the sleeper pick is because if they, let's just say, get Slitherwisp on the board, all their creatures or all their flash stuff gets cheaper, and with all the counter they have because they're blue, they can just easily start controlling the game. Hey, I'm gonna play my Charming Prince, that's fine. Hey, I'm gonna play Winota, countered, I'm done for the turn. So on and so forth. So once again, not a deck that I feel is gonna be tier 1, tier 0, but it is gonna be close to that point. If in the next set, it's going to be Teferi, so it's going to be a little bit of blue. If they get a card that supports them even more, it can really push them to that point. But that is my top 4. That doesn't mean that this is set in stone. Obviously, decks can change, cards can be introduced, cards can be banned, and that doesn't mean that you should also forget about the other 4. So when I say the other 4, I'm talking about Fires of Invention, Azorius Control, Mayhem Devil, which is Rakdos, or Jund Aristocrats, and Bant. I don't talk about Mono Red because I don't consider that a deck. So Fires of Invention, it is still rampant. It is running some of the new cards, and obviously with the new ultimatums, all you have to do is just hit the land. You don't have to have the same colors for it. You can just cast it. It is still running rampant with its creatures like Cavalier Flames, Bone Crusher, so on and so forth. So watch out for that. You got Dream Trawler, which is Azorius Control. They have a new revamped list. They are running some of the new cards, but it is still a strong deck. You don't lose control because you're always drawing cards. You're always removing stuff with Elspeth. Mayhem Devil is Rakdos Aristocrats. Some are still running him, some are not. But I still put him in there because he is the point in some others decks that he's like the image of that deck. Just the main, I'm a sack dealing damage. But Rakdos or Jund are pretty much the and the Mardu sacrifice decks are something that you still have to watch out for. So Bant is now a different type of deck. It does not run the Titan. What is his name? The 3-drop. When you play him, you draw a card. You gain 3 life. You play an extra land. Yeah, he's not on the list anymore. You run Luminous Broodmoth, Fiend Artisan. I'm gonna put the deck list up on the side. It pretty much just keeps spamming monsters, With Luminous Broodmoth, you search for stuff with Fiend Artisan. So let's just say you sacrifice a Paradise Druid, it comes back with a flying token, but you pay the mana you need with Fiend Artisan, and you bring out a creature. So now let's just say you got a what was it, 3 drop, enter the battlefield, destroy target artifact enchantment, give it 3 counters, or you gain 4 life. It comes onto the battlefield. So if you need to, you can sack it again next turn with Feed Artisan. It comes back, it gets its effect, and you get another creature that you need for that turn. And with Broodmoth, all you have to do is literally nothing, as the card just comes in with a counter. And that right there is one of the most oppressive combos that I have seen. It is slow. It is not something that's like going to ramp up to being destructive like 5 creatures in one turn. But it is something that if you don't get rid of Broodmoth or Fiend Artisan, which if Fiend Artisan is on the board with Broodmoth, they're just going to bring it back with a flying counter. It is just an oppressive combo. The thing you might want to do is have cards that exile. You just want to make sure that their cards stay dead and they stay exiled.